Hello and welcome back to a basic Space Engineers mod tutorial. My name is Rabenschild and today we take a look at SAM's Autopilot Manager version 2 by Magistrator. A link to the mod or to the script will be in the description, and now let us start. SAM helps you to build ships that on their own fly to stations on planets or space. That script even is able to utilize your thrusters efficiently to go from planets to space or the other way around, and it also works with modded thrusters. Stations advertise themselves and you can decide on a screen where the ship is flying to, and you're able to also save waypoints. The first thing for SAM, you need stations. So you need to have stations that advertise themselves to ships, and to set up one of these stations you need an antenna, you need a programmable block, and you need a connector. We first start with a programmable block. As usual with a script, you edit it, browse your scripts, you can punch in SAM, use SAMv2, SAM's Autopilot Manager. There's a lot of stuff already here, so if you have more questions, take a look at this too, and then you can just copy that to your editor. This is the SAM script itself. One thing, if you are running speed mods, you might want to change this line, private static float max speed, to whatever speed you want, because that sets the maximum speed of your ship. That is only applicable for ships. You don't need to do that for a station, and I will talk about this again when we set up a ship, but just as a reminder so you know. You can also change your public string if you want that, but I will just stay with the SAM thing. Check the code. And then SAM is already running. So the programmable block is set up. Let us, for convenience, copy this line, just so we have it. And now we go to our connector. And what we do is we add the tag to the name. There's also a way you can do that without that, but I will show that when it comes to the antenna. Let us configure the antenna. I have, I think, multiple ones here. I will use antenna 2, and we can use the same tag and just say SAM. That already works. The antenna immediately assigns itself to the programmable block. That is something that it's the script itself says you need to do, but it does that on its own. SAM also works with custom data. You can also go in and use this string, and it would work too. The cool thing with that is that then the antenna 2 SAM doesn't address itself that way, and you can name your antenna however you want to name it. I will delete that again. It's just for your information. Good. The antenna is set up too. Another thing we need to do with the programmable block is that we need to tell it to advertise where it is, and SAM automatically changes that. It works a bit like the Tim script there that adds stuff to it if needed. So now everything for a station is set up. What you want to do is name your station. You can also put in your own names to connectors and all that stuff. I will stay away from that for now. This is just for the basics, how to set up SAM. Another thing you can do is go into a panel, and also say SAM, and then add the string log to it. And then you see that you now have basically a logger that tells you this and this happened within the script and within the group. I think it also, as far as I know, addresses ships that show up. But you don't need that. If you want to have it, then use the samlog name on this screen here. It needs to be a widescreen as far as I know. Good. Let us go to the ship. For a ship that uses SAM, you can use whatever grid size you want. You can use small or big grids. It really doesn't matter. You need a few blocks to utilize SAM, and that is a remote control, cameras, at least 3, an LCD panel, a programmable block, connectors or one connector, and an antenna. Your thrusters do matter when it comes to atmosphere and space. So if you want to just have atmospheric drones or cargo ships, then go with the atmospheric thrusters. If you want to have a ship that is able to go from planet to orbit and back, you might want to have a thruster mix. So the ship still needs to be able to do all of that. You might want to test that out before in personal tests, but SAM in the end is really efficient in the use of thrusters and where to use them correctly. It prefers Atmo, then ion thrusters, and then hydrogen thrusters. It again sees where it needs to use what and then goes for that. Let us add the missing blocks. I am missing a programmable block. We will put SAM on there later. We are missing an antenna. And then we miss cameras. Cameras are really important because SAM uses cameras to measure distances. I think the whole thing is done with raycasting, but I'm not perfect at this. Cameras need to be positioned at the outermost edges, kind of, on your ship. You want basically the cameras to be the last block that sticks out from everything. We need one on the bottom, so it can measure the distance from the surface. We need one on the front and one on the top, and we later need to name them correctly. Then the string SAM comes back into play. So we already have an LCD. This one should be visible if you want to be in the ship yourself. So keep that in mind. We also have a remote control block. The remote control block, it doesn't matter where it is, but it basically establishes the orientation of the ship. Keep that in mind. And as usual, the connector. Good. Let us set this up. We go for the usual and say, this is the programmable block. We will edit it, browse scripts, and put SAM into it again. Here we can again take a look at the max speed. It doesn't matter for the station, it matters for the ship. If you're running speed mod, for example, you might want to change that. Otherwise, the ship just stays under your speed mod and it will just use 95 meters per second, I think. Good. We can check this because I'm not running a speed mod here. Can say, okay, it immediately names itself SAM. I will copy this out again just for the convenience, and then it is done. This one doesn't need to advertise in any way. That's just for the stations. Let us sit down because from the inside of the cockpit, we can go to the antenna, do the same here. So then it again goes to the programmable block, says it is connected with this one, and then we can continue on. The cameras also need the string SAM. So it doesn't matter, you don't need to tell them where they are or anything. And the connector also needs the string SAM. And we also need to go in and go into the text panel and say SAM. Here again, you can use the other string. It's just so that, you don't need to spam this SAM stuff everywhere. Good, let me take a look. The remote control should also have the string SAM attached to it. Then everything should be set up. Let us take a look how the text panel deals with that. And so we can see that we have navigation disabled on it, no docs selected, use configuration screen to select them. That's the next thing we set up. To use SAM, we need to set up arguments in the programmable block. We can do that on the hotbar. That makes everything really, really easy. To do this, we just go into the G menu, grab the programmable block, and just say run. And we will start with the first argument, that is screen. With this argument, we can change the screen from the, I will show you, from the navigation display to the configuration display. That's really neat. On the configuration display, we set ourselves our navigational points that we want to go to, and you can see there are already 2. And in the navigation display, that's where we decide where we want to go then in the end. So you can set up a ship to just go between 2 points or just have 2 points available. That depends on what you decide. You can also take all the points and then just go in between them. The next thing we need is some ways to navigate in your display menu. And you just take again the run option and say next. And then you take it again and do the same with pref. This is just to be able to navigate, and I can change the screen again, and then I can show you that with 3 and 4 I can move the cursor between the different stations that we have there. To now go on, we need the select option. It is again run, and then we type in select. And now we are even able to select certain options. So we go to the tutorial station, that's the station we are right at, and we select that. It displays the one, and then we go to site alpha. That's a point I've previously set up to navigate there. And we also select that. Now, if we change the screen, we can see that in the navigation display, we have now the tutorial station and site alpha. If we had more in the configuration screen and we would only select these 2, we would only get these 2 in the navigation display. So what we need next is we need a way to start the script. I will always put that back here, and we just say start. And then it is always good to have a way to stop navigation, and that's by just going in and saying stop. What start and stop do, I will show you in the next section, because that's then for navigation. First, we take a look at the next 3 arguments. The first one is add. This adds a waypoint without any orientation, basically. With add stance, you can also record the orientation of the ship. So it gives you an exact waypoint where the ship also goes into the exact orientation that you have decided for. And then there is remove. With remove, it does what it says. You can remove waypoints that you have added. I've put that on a different hotbar. Basically, we can go back to the first one to look at what all the things then do in the end. So if you want your ship to go to certain places, again, you first switch the screen to configuration, select the points you want to go to or you want to be able to go to, switch back, and then you can decide where you want to go by just changing the cursor. And here you don't need select, but you need the start. You could, for example, just start off to the first point that I have selected. That is, and by the way, I'm completely hands-free here, the station itself that we are on. And it goes there, docks, and now the ship is locked down and we are connected to the station. You could unload cargo or whatever you want. And if you now want to go to site alpha, because that's the next one we have here, you select that with your cursor and then go to start again. The ship goes to a certain height. There is settings you can change there, so the ship will ignore safety and all that stuff. Stay away from that for now. It's easier to have it that way. With the add stance and all that stuff, you might be able to put in a path, and there is ways to automate that, but I will not go into that here for now. So this is the next station I've decided that I've just built. The orientation of the ship depends on the orientation of the connector. You might have to go in and figure out some things here because again it uses the thinner sides of the connector to decide. You might just have to switch around connectors if you end up in an orientation you don't want to be in. So we landed here. You can see it automatically connected. One warning, what it not will do is turn off the dampeners. So if you go and connect it up to mobile bases on the ground or something like that, you could end up messing things up there. But it would be possible. The good thing here is that a station can be mobile. So if a ship in orbit, for example, changes its position, as long as everything is in antenna range and the ship can see where it is, where the other ship or the base is now, you basically change the navigation to go there and everything works. I had no failure with this by now. Let us go back and I will just show you what stop does. Again, it's just stopping the navigation. We lift up again and again. I'm completely hands-free. That's completely neat. I started it. That was wrong, but we can change that by changing this. Go back into it. I will leave this in, I think. And now it should go back to the main base. You can see you could reconnect if you want that. That also works. And if we now just press stop, the ship will stop and will not continue to wherever it wanted to go, but stay there. But we go back. And then I will show you the waypoint navigation. Just as an information, your ship still stays a ship, so you can manually navigate it if you want, as long as it is not navigated by the script. Good. Let us take a look at the waypoint system. So if I want to add a waypoint now, I have switched my hotbar. We can add a waypoint here and just can say 7. You don't see that show up because it just shows up in the configuration menu. You will have to switch to there and then you can select it. And then we could, if we want, navigate there. So we switch the screen again, and then you can see we have the manual position here, and now we are there, but we want to go to something else, and we will go to site alpha and just start that up. It navigates there. If you want to change that in the middle of navigation, you're able to do that too by just saying start somewhere, and we are approaching it. You just say start and it changes again and flies back. And it should hold waypoint there. That's pretty neat. You could sort that by selecting the different sites or the different stations you have to the different things. For example, if you want to have the manual position in position 2, you go and switch that out and just say this is position 2 now, and this one is position 3 then. So now we navigate back to the tutorial station. Again, the stance is just the same thing as the add version, just it keeps the orientation. That could be interesting if you want to set up paths or something like that. You can automate the process again, but I will not take a look at that here. This is just the basics of it. Just to give you a bit of inspiration, you can set a point here, and then you could do something like grab a button panel, set that up somewhere. If you want, configure that and just go and say programmable block SAM. This is the one from the ship. Better get into naming, that's a neat thing. And then you can just say start. And if I press the button now, the ship moves there on its own. This is pretty neat. You could set up a cargo drone that delivers cargo just by you pressing a button, for example. And this works with all the arguments. All the arguments just work also with buttons. As long as you can put it into the programmable block, everything works. Now you know how to set up the stations and the ships of SAM's Autopilot Manager version 2. Thanks to Magistrator, this script is really great. It's a thing I really wanted to have for a long time. A few notes. Your station get advertised over your whole antenna network. So as long as something is connected to an antenna or to a laser antenna, it gets advertised and your ships can go there. You wouldn't even need to, I don't know, you could remotely set that up if you have everything set up in the right way, and then you could go there. There's a few automation options with timer blocks you could use, and if you set up your system in the right way, you, again, could set up automatic cargo drones that fly back and forth, timer controlled. It's pretty neat. If you then add in, for example, one of the inventory management scripts, you could end up having, again, cargo that gets delivered automatically to different stations, or have ships that bring in ammo or uranium for your combat ships or something like that. Again, the whole thing also works on the move. That's pretty impressive. Good people, if you have any questions about SAM's Autopilot Manager, then leave me comments. That's always helpful. Leave a like, that's good, and I know how well I've done, or if I didn't do well, then I will know that too. The mod author or the script author is also very helpful. The site gives some insights into how the automation would work and all that stuff. Really, really well done. And yeah, I hope you liked my small tutorial for SAM's Autopilot Manager version 2. And yeah, if you want to see more tutorials from me, then stay on my channel. I also have a Let's Play, a really long-running Let's Play on space engineers that could be interesting to you as well. And yeah, hope you subscribe and stay for a while. Good people, thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. See ya, guys.